think I said in that I had just taken a whole box of papers to California, all right? They arrested me at that time, and they took all the paperwork. When they saw what I had, and now I made them take it. You know why I made them take it? Because every day when I would leave the Masjid, I would take my bag over my shoulder that was full of the same type of stuff that I had. You know, all the paperwork. Now I got tons of paperwork. I copy everything 9, 10 times. They've taken, let's say, 8 or 9 packages from me, one way or another. It don't make no difference. And I'll show you why that I make sure that I have copy, section. So anyway, they're saying, we gotta get you to the hospital, we gotta do this. And I tell them, I'm a grown man. This little blood, now they're looking at me, I can't see myself, right? They're looking and you can imagine, right. Man, this, and I'm telling them, whatever this is, this ain't nothing. I said, I could lose a quart of blood, it wouldn't be nothing. I weigh 250 pounds, I got this much blood, this little old blood, now they looking at me, and I'm not looking at myself, right? Just a side note, when I went to the hospital, finally my son drove me to the hospital, and the doctor was walking out, he was changing shifts, he looked, and so he came in, opened the door, come on in. When I walked in the desk, the people looked, 2 black women, and their eyes got big, and they have a police station at the hospital. They took me on in, and they rushed me right into the side. Why? Because they thought I was shot in the chest. So that's all the blood that's, right. I mean, it was blood. I mean, that shirt was like, you know, I had 2 shirts on, a sweatshirt, and that thing was actually heavy with blood. So they got to working on everything, and they said, the doctor, he had been at the Tanzania. And I said, yeah, well, they said, have you been outside the country? You've been so I mentioned something, well, I was in Tanzania before. He said, oh, my father was there. We did this hospital thing in Tanzania and all of that. So anyway, one thing they said at the hospital, this is the first man that ever part of a victimization like that is happy, have a good attitude. I was happy. I was telling jokes, oh yeah, why? Because we got them. They don't have us, right? They did this. Okay, so the point I have to make is, number one, that we have a strategy that we're working off of. We can't change our strategy. Their tactic is to get us to act on a tactical level, not a strategic level. Tactic means that they did something and we respond to them with another tactic. The tactic would be to fight them. Okay? So, we already know they're the police. We've been knowing they're the police for 500 years. This is not the first time they did this. If you remember when I'm talking to my son, I said, do you remember in Big Greystone in 1970? That's when I got big in Oakland and they was mad about that. Yeah, I said, I didn't even know you knew about it, but you heard about it all over the penitentiary because this happened at the jail in Alameda County. Everybody there smoking. And what the police did, they gave white boys knives and what have you, and they did whatever they was going to do, and it didn't work. Because when they let us out later on into the pen, they left big mop buckets. You know, like the mop bucket down there? But in those days, it was made out of metal. And that handle, so the white boys had knives, being Iceman, big old Iceman. Imagine in those days, we big old Negroes, both of us dark. He was my celly. So when they started acting up, we was going to use a wheel on them white boys. That means I take this right here and I whack around, I step over here and I step back. 1, whack, 2, step, 3, step, bam, hit him again. In other words, we're going to have him busy because it's 2 of us. We're going to whack them and I'm going to step aside, and it's just like a wheel. We're going to be going around and around with that big old, with the ringer. And they made out of metal in those days. And we're going to beat them white boys to death. That's how the system tried to knock me over. That's why if you read anything, that when I'm dealing with them in Oakland, I said, no, this is the 4th time y'all tried to knock me over. You know, in other words, this is just like the stuff you see on TV. It's always attempted assassin. They got it bad in Oakland. Because see, people over here, they don't know what was going on in Oakland. And you remember I'm talking to my son. He was young in those days. I said, you remember when I was doing what I did in Oakland? Yeah. And how much money everybody was getting. Yeah, they was getting plenty. Everybody was getting plenty of money. I said, do you remember later on when Felix Mitchell, they was important guys and that. I said, they got money for themselves and their little crew. They didn't get money for everybody in Oakland. I said, when I was doing it, everybody was getting it, right? I was making sure. It was a black economic enterprise zone. Imagine if from all the crime, you reinvest that in the community. You gotta have nothing but big money. If the biggest people reinvest, everybody get money. So therefore, the level of wealth and everything, I don't care whether the real estate people, because Negroes buying houses from, it don't make no difference whether it's the carpet layers, some of our, they gotta have carpets in their new places, right? Everything is a cycle. Circulate money. I generally understood that concept. That's why I was doing what I was doing. I was just doing it because I wanted everybody to have money. Because I used to say, who wants to be in heaven all by themselves? And that's the way I felt the first couple of years. I said, man, I'm getting all this money and everybody else got to go to work together. So I just say, hey, we're going to get money for everybody. That's when it started. That was a black economic enterprise zone. Everybody in California knew it. And they also know that the police was always, all those arrests you see me get, everybody in the whole, like my son heard about that assassination attempt in 1970. In prison, when he went later, way later, you know, he went to prison way after I did, and it's in the state of California, so we're known in that environment. So I said, didn't you heard of, you reminded me of some things I forgot. Where did you hear about it? Oh, when I was in the pen. In other words, everybody knows what's going on in California about me, but they don't know that the Islamic level is 10 times as big as the Jahiliyyah level. And it's more important. So if they were trying to assassinate me then, you can imagine what they're up to now. You see what I'm saying? So, to make the long story short, what we're doing right now, let's call it the Brother Tufayl Abdullah Strategic Command Center. That's what this will all be. The house, the vintage books, downstairs. We're going to build houses over here, like they got right over there. In other words, we're developing now the little studio back there, what we call an annex. We're going to upgrade all of that. That will be part of the strategic, Brother Tufayl Strategic Command Center. That's just one of the things. In fact, next Sunday we're going to have a program right here, just a pilot program. We'll have a little food. We'll tell everybody that's sitting around here in D.C., you can hear about it right now. Next Sunday at 1:30, we're going to have a program related to Brother Tufayl. It's just going to be a short program. It's a pilot program. It's a program to get going. What did we say not long ago? We're going to write our own story.
Build our platform.
If they ain't got no platform, we're going to build it. Right? If they ain't got no plank for you to stand on, you just get out your nails and handles and start building it. Right? That's what we're doing here. Not only are we doing it for us, we're doing it for the whole Islamic movement. So what we show today is the type of programs we're going to be developing. Because we're just what they saw today. That give them an idea. Number one, we're nonviolent. Number two, we're not reactionary. You can't do anything to us and make us react, right? Because they're going to hear about everything else that happened. That's why this is a strategic command. It's a teaching center. You got to remember, we started, everything that we're talking about now is 10 or 15 years old, at least, way back. We have to archive everything. Archives right here. Historicize, right? Put it in a historical context. Chronicleize. That means we have to do exactly what we've been doing. There's no air in between, nothing we're doing. It's almost like it's unbelievable. You go back almost 10 years ago, designed fitna. Designed fitna. That means you design the fitna that you want. Everything that happened to us is very close to exactly what we wanted to do. I was looking through those things the other day, the really old stuff, and we run across this one. This is strategic thinking. Strategic thinking, like, we're strategic, man. This is strategic thinking. This came out probably 1984. I must have got it in 1985. And if we look right here, I could pass this so y'all can see it, but you saw it before, that say on 12/6/86, we ran Chabot. That's a good God Almighty, ran Chabot. I mean, we ran the whole Chabot Lake and then up in those hills also. That means that was a 13-mile run. That was a burning run, seriously. Then a little iron. Then notebooks missing. 4 date books. Accordion folder missing. Big victory. What is the big victory? The big victory is that they done showed us exactly where they're coming from. They're going to get them my notes as often as they can, and they're going to study those notes. So I have to practice strategic thinking. When I was riding them old cars all around the country, all I'm listening to is strategic thinking. Not tactics, but strategic thinking. And in those days, you would think over a long period of time. Strategic thinking, that we have to think about this whole thing. Those are the years, even, it has to be strategic thinking. Here's why. This is December. On December 14th, we had a program, Masjid clears the air. But on December the 9th, I ran Chabot again, Bass Cove, Price Club. Sheldon arrested. My oldest son, Abdul Kareem, is arrested. The next day, on the 10th, my other son, my youngest son, arrested. Why? So when we have the program, a few days later, they're the only witnesses to all of this. They're the only witnesses. And everybody else who's coming to the program is going to be generally, there's a few neutral people, some pro, but most of the people are going to be police officers, right? And they're going to come, and when I talk about the stuff I'm talking about, I'm talking by myself, in front of people that know I'm by myself, and know that I can't verify, this stuff right now in front of them. I can't turn to nobody and say, remember this, remember that. Can't do it. So what's the big victory? The big victory is it initiates strategic thinking. Why are we doing what we do now? Because you heard on the phone, I said, you still there, Brother Tufayl? Okay, we're at a different point now. We're at a point where there's a void. We're fortunate that we have clarity on what we're talking on the phone. The Brother Tufayl, he might have talked to y'all about that, Imam Musa was in California. Did he talk to y'all about any of that? And happened. So y'all evidence is hearsay. But I would present it anyway. They said, that's hearsay. I said, it don't make no difference. Just let it be hearsay. Let the jury hear the hearsay. Right? Yeah, let them hear. You got enough say that you see all this. Just let the hearsay in. Right? Or we'll get it in even if we have to talk over them, say, strike that from the jury. Strike that from the jury. How are you going to strike anything from the jury? The jury didn't hurt it. Okay. Strategic thinking means this is 1986. This is 1986, so that's 34 years ago. Something like that, right? Yeah, that's 34 years ago. All right. Now here we are in 2020. Okay. In this case, we had to tell people that this is not new, what we're dealing with. We've been doing this all along. And the dialogue that we're having with the brothers, you can see that they're ready to do something and they want to do something. And I tell them, absolutely not. And the point that I make clearly is, you never let anybody design a program where you fight on their battlefield, you go to their house, right? You do anything, they cannot control your actions. You don't let them, or you're fighting on their territory. You're fighting at their time. This is an hour later, we all roll down and everybody's already waiting, and they got 50 police spotters, they got everything. And all of them, whatever happened, they're going to do like they did a couple of years before. After everybody's dead, the police is going to close off all access to it and let them run away, like they did in front of the Masjid. The lady said, up on the hill, said, oh, why they bring guns to your church? And, oh, the police is blocking them. They, look at that, they letting them get away. Don't worry about it. They ain't going nowhere, right? They're not going anywhere. Look, I'm not bragging. We done boss man in. go around. It's an evolutionary period, and we're going to do him bigger this time, because this is a bigger time. And we're not starting from scratch. Just imagine, we're not starting from scratch. We could whistle Dixie, we could fix the house after that, we could write. We know that once you make a to-do list, all you do is go down your to-do list. When you get ready, you don't have to do it when they get ready. You don't care nothing about them, because they're not part. The only part they play in this is when we talk about what do we call it? Psycho-degradable. Remember that what he is? Psycho-degradable. Oh, that's 5 years ago, but this is important. Psycho-degradable. The psychological warfare to the hilt. Psycho-degradable. Whatever they do to us, we're going to take it and turn it into fertilizer. Now, let's just remember something. If you remember some history of battles of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when they had trackers. Trackers could look at the excrement. They could tell how long they've been there. They could tell which trail they took, because when that stuff there, this is what they do. When the white man devours Negroes, Negro organizations, and Negro movements, there is a psychological residue. Let me go with that again, because see, they don't think niggas is deep. They don't think niggas is deep. They should have messed with somebody else. Because they give a nigga 50 years to study. You know, to fight and study, hey man, it's too late. Movements leave a residue, just like you devour anything. So there's a cycle. You can tell who everybody been hanging around with, because there's an association, a psycho-association. Yeah, they've been hanging with Najee, they've been hanging with so-and-so, because it's clear. You don't have to. They think nigga got us. You got